Hi there, my name is Amy Loeschke, and in this short video I plan to go through roughly 10 minutes of highlights from our webinar called The 3 Breeds of ProCROSS, The Perfect Match. You can find the full-length version of this live webinar on our ProCROSS YouTube channel, along with other webinars in this multi-part series. So let's dive in. So for a very brief recap, what is ProCROSS? ProCROSS is a rotation of 3 breeds of sires used sequentially on the ProCROSS cows. Typically, a producer will start with a pure Holstein herd and can choose whether to go with Montbéliarde or VikingRed for the first cross, and then proceed on to the third breed, whichever one was not for the first cross. Rotating 3 pure breeds gives a high level of hybrid vigor, while still maintaining the simplicity and the genetic impact from 3 strong dairy breeds. So why these 3 breeds? Well, let's spend the next few minutes together on this topic. Internationally, we can think of dairy breeds as belonging to 3 clusters: the alpine, the English Channel breeds, and then some others, which includes Bos Indicus breeds and some local breeds. For crossbreeding, you will only see substantial heterosis when you cross between breeds within these colored circles I've identified here. And so this is why for ProCROSS we have chosen the best alpine breed, the Montbéliarde, and 2 channel breeds, the Holstein, the VikingHolstein, developed in the Nordic countries, and then the VikingRed, which comes from the red breed cluster. In this slide, comparing the alpine breeds with each other, I've shown the higher number of stars here that reflect the breeds that rank the highest for the trait in question. Across traits, the Montbéliarde is the alpine breed that offers the strengths for the production and yield categories. The Montbéliarde is of moderate body size and has sufficient udder conformation, and they're also the top choice for fertility, health, and longevity. Why not FleckV? Well, FleckV falls behind on both liquid milk volume and on total solids yield. In addition to this, the FleckV might have too much size and body condition for some housing systems. Producers tell us that they find the FleckV crossbred cows to be disappointing in udder conformation, also sometimes for sire calving ease. And all these things cause them to have a reduced herd life compared to Montbéliarde. In the full-length version of this presentation, I review a study that shows the significant advantage of Montbéliarde over FleckV for yield and survival traits in a Danish study. Why not Brown Swiss? Well, the Brown Swiss has been bred heavily for conformation in recent years, and this means more frame size, and frame size that increases as those cows age. They also have less body condition than their other alpine cousins. As a result, the Brown Swiss tends to be disappointing on fertility and health and also herd life. In addition to this, producers also report that Brown Swiss calves have difficulty with suckling and pail training, and this impacts calf survival. So Montbéliarde really does the best job of pulling together both the high yield traits, the more moderate size, and also the strong functional traits among these 3 alpine breeds. Let's move on and talk about the red breeds. For the red breeds, we are directly able to compare their genetic levels without the impact of the herd environmental effects through a cross-country analysis by Interbull. So this table includes the average genetic level of bulls born in 2014 and later that have at least 60 daughters in their genetic evaluation. It's really important to note that the Viking Red and Norwegian Red are really the only 2 red populations that have a large number of cows to support their genetic selection, and therefore a large number of bulls offered. For production, the Viking Red bulls are expected to transmit 252 kilograms more milk production than the Norwegian Red per lactation, and almost 400 kilograms more milk than Canadian Ayrshire and Australian Red. And this is because of this difference I'm showing here in the Interbull ranking of the breeds. We have a 7-point difference with the advantage going to Viking Red. On udders, the Viking Red is better than the Norwegian Red also by 15 index units or 1.5 standard deviations. The VikingRed also has advantages over the other breeds for maternal calving ease and for milking speed. And all these things together add up to the big difference we see in longevity, where there's a 11-point advantage of VikingRed over Norwegian Red, and also advantages especially over Australian Red as well. So this difference equates to about 129 days longer herd life when we compare VikingRed with Norwegian Red. The other thing I want to point out is that the metabolic feed efficiency is only available in the VikingRed breed right now. And these other red breeds are considering feed efficiency, but basing it only on a reduction of body size, which improves the maintenance energy needed by those cows. Let's talk about the Holstein then. Within the global Holstein breed, a few differences exist between the populations, and that dictates why we promote VikingHolstein for ProCROSS. The Nordic countries have selected for udder health and daughter fertility for many decades now, and over 20 years longer than some of these other countries I've listed. That said, you might expect them to be lower on production index, but they're actually within the same bracket for production as the Holsteins from these other countries. Also worth mentioning is that the Nordic countries have always favored a smaller cow, and we now recognize that this is really important for reducing the maintenance costs for feed efficiency. This difference of 10 units between the VikingHolstein and US Holstein equates to roughly 2.1 centimeters shorter hip height between those two countries' Holstein populations. What about the other breeds available for crossbreeding that I identified early on? Well, Jersey and Normandy both have some excellent characteristics as pure breeds, but they do combine poorly for crossbreeding. And this evidence comes from both observations by our ProCROSS users and in university research. A few of the main faults of Jersey are listed here, but it boiled down to their large variation in body size, creating too much variation in the cross, and then problems with functional udders and lower production as cows aged. And all those things together shortened their herd life over what we would expect from a crossbred cow and over what we achieve with ProCROSS cows. Now, Normandy had substantially less production and poorer type, and this included both udder conformation and legs and foot health. Other breeds have been considered, but they're typically low in production level, and many of them have too small of a genetic base to be a viable candidate for a sound crossbreeding program. The last thing I want to cover as a recap of the webinar is this idea of complementarity of breeds with ProCROSS. In this chart here, I show roughly which breeds are stronger for certain traits. And in the black bars, I've identified the VikingHolstein breed, and they're the strongest in solid yields and in udder conformation, which is no surprise for Holstein cows. But then we look at the bars that are tan colored here for Coopex Montbéliarde, and that breed really brings in the fertility, the longevity, and they're the body condition breed of this rotation, along with their strong feet and legs, of course. And in the red bars, we have VikingRed. They're the smallest breed, they're the strongest for calving ease and calf survival amongst the cross. They also bring a lot of fertility, longevity, and survival as well. Plus this, they're also known for their excellent hoof health. So even though these breeds have different strengths to offer, the idea is they compensate each other for these strengths, and that's what makes an excellent ProCROSS cow. Thanks for tuning in to this short summary of our webinar, The 3 Breeds of ProCROSS, the Perfect Match. You can find the full-length version of this live webinar at our YouTube channel. And if you have any questions on these subjects or other ideas around ProCROSS, feel free to send me a personal email. Thanks for tuning in.